Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic and wonderful. Everything here is great. I have a question for you. As I know that most of my audience is American, I simply want to know, do you use either WhatsApp or Telegram? And if so, do you use it a lot? Has it replaced texting for you? I'm really curious because, as both through the board gaming industry and as a citizen of the internet, I have amassed a pretty decent sized group of overseas friends. And whenever a new person comes into that fold, or another form of communication falls away, I invariably get asked, like, do you use Telegram or WhatsApp? And my answer is, I've never heard of those. Now, obviously, I've heard of those, but I've never heard of anybody using those in America. And I'm really curious about it because, the younger audiences from those places that I hear from all tell me that nobody texts anymore. They just use WhatsApp and Telegram. And I think that's true of, like, my children don't text their friends. They don't use SMS messaging to message their friends. They use either Discord, Snapchat, or TikTok, and that's really their forms of communication. But I still don't know of anybody here in America using WhatsApp or Telegram, and I'm really curious about it because in my group, in my social area, most people in my life are on Apple phones, on iPhones, so iMessage is like their everything, and I am not an iPhone person, so it's never been a thing for me, so I still use text. Texting is how I communicate with Americans. But when I communicate with friends that don't have my number or overseas friends, it's generally through either Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook Messenger DMs, like just DM back and forth. Discord has replaced some forms of those communications, like sometimes Discord replaces some of those communication channels, but not super often because Discord's really not great at just being a DM. Like you can use Instagram and never use it for anything other than messages because there's not a whole bunch of notifications popping up constantly. Discord, you'd have to like mute stuff. It gets, I guess you could if you just didn't subscribe to any channels and you just had friends and that was it. But I'm interested in, like, again, I don't know. I get it overseas, right? I get where international lines are so close, or they're so close together that you might have friend groups from 3 or 4 different countries because they're all within driving distance of you. There's no country within driving distance of me. I mean, there is. I could drive to Canada if I wanted to drive 8 hours. I could drive to Mexico if I wanted to drive for a couple days. But that's it. Those are the only countries that are anywhere near me. I don't live someplace where I could just hop across the bridge to a different country and explore a different culture. That's not a thing. And so for me, texting is everybody in my umbrella here in America. Whereas, a lot of my overseas friends have, this large geographical area of dozens of countries, and they communicate with people from all over. And so they use those apps because, number one, you're not tied to a cell phone carrier. You can use those apps for anything through any cell phone, carrier ever. You don't even need cell phone. Like, you could just do it through, internet. You don't even need to actually have a data or a cellular plan to use those apps. And I think that that's the future. Like, truthfully, I feel like we will eventually be done with the cellular plan. Like the phone call, texting, SMS, that stuff will eventually go away and just be replaced with broadband. And everything will be on broadband, and you won't have to worry about what carrier you're on or any of that stuff. But I don't see the adoption here in the U.S. And maybe it's just because I live in a very sheltered, area of the United States, a very small sheltered area of the United States. And I'm not seeing the bigger picture. Maybe there is a large user base for various message replacement, SMS replacement apps. I just don't know what it is. I'm really curious. So that's it really today that I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to know your answer. Do you use those two apps? Are you in the U.S.? If you're not in the U.S. and you use those two apps, which one do you use the most? Do you have them both installed? Is there a clear winner? I'm just curious. Maybe I should have one just for my international friends. I don't know. So, that's all I got. Just a question. Thanks for being here as always. How was your weekend too? You can tell me that too. Mine ended up pretty okay. I had the kids. We went swimming. We got ice cream. We had food. I worked on board games. I played some board games. Played 11. I'm excited to talk about it, but we're not ready to talk about it yet. So that's what I did. What'd you do? Thanks for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends, wonderful people. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is Herculean. It is an adjective meaning of extraordinary power or difficulty, often capitalized because the word alludes to Hercules. We found it a Herculean effort not to chortle at the outlandish clothing of the nouveau rich attendees of our party, said Lillian. How inappropriate to wear evening attire to an afternoon garden party. Herculean, Herculean. This is the first, in a pretentious book, first formatting error I found is they italicized the definition along with the sentence. I don't know if that'd be interesting to you since I didn't show you, but I found an error.